Welcome back to the Woodworking Talk Show, the internet's most popular podcast about people who make things and then put them on YouTube. We talk about building, electronics, robots, epoxying, metalworking, construction, DIYing, and once in a while, woodworking. And by the way, Laura, maybe you can help me out with this. I think I instinctively know the difference between, say, a DIYer and a maker. But I'm not quite sure what that is. Do you have any insight?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel, because I always get asked what's a maker, because in Germany we don't have the term maker. And I always say it's somebody who works interdisciplinary. So in Germany we have lots of traditional woodworkers, like electricians, metalworkers, everything, blah, blah, blah. But the makers are people who cross over to different disciplines. So a DIY is probably, I would think, is make like the beginning of being a maker. You know, you start with, I'm going to help myself with this, and I will use my hot glue gun and try to get my feet wet. You know, that's probably DIY.
I feel like there's more DIY on Pinterest.
Yes. Although it's such a shame, because I remember seeing the term DIY in an American magazine, in the Make magazine actually, and it made so much sense to me. And then I researched it a little bit, and it goes back to DIY movement. It's a punk thing. It's anarchy. It's like making your own gig posters with a copy machine. So that's not what it is on Pinterest right now. I think it got off track.
Well, there's like the whole DIY music scene right now, which I really love, where it's like anybody can produce professional quality music out of their office or their garage. It's amazing.
I mean that's what we both build our careers on, kind of, right? Yeah. Producing our own videos, because all the gatekeepers are gone. You can do it yourself with a phone, essentially.
I kind of think there's more beards involved with makers than DIYers too. I don't know.
Probably, yeah, that's right.
Maybe. Anyways, quick reminder, if you've been thinking about making stuff out of wood, and let's face it, who among us hasn't? There is no better place to begin than The Weekend Woodworker. The Weekend Woodworker is my step-by-step approach to learning woodworking, even if you've never touched a saw in your life. I used to say even if you've never touched a hammer in your life, but really there's not a lot of hammering going on in woodworking. I think a lot of beginners think that there is, and I think that they're surprised that nails are actually kind of uncommon in woodworking. Anyways, head over to weekendwoodworkercourse.com, sign up today and join our amazing community. Laura Kampf is a maker who shares an eclectic mix of projects and crazy ideas on her YouTube channel called Laura Kampf. She posted her first video, Laura's Walnut Lamp, on November 17, 2015, right during peak YouTube. In that very first video, she established the familiar style of video that would come to define her channel. Artistic cinematography, dramatic lighting, shallow depth of field, tight close-ups, and lo-fi hip-hop beats to relax/study to.
Yes!
But more importantly are her awesome projects. Her projects range from fabricating barbecue grills to making unique bicycles and furniture to building her own tiny house, and a whole bunch of absolutely bonkers projects thrown in the mix. Laura, do you feel like a little bit of a mad scientist at times?
Yes, and I love it.
It suits you, right?
Yeah.
She works out of a big shop in Cologne, Germany. That's clearly her playground, filled with industrial machinery, tools, and a stockpile of parts and materials that'll someday become other amazing things. With an insane schedule of posting a project a week, Laura is easily one of the most prolific makers on YouTube, and no matter what she's making, you're always in for a fun ride watching her brain in action. Hey, Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Wow, what an intro. That's great. It makes me feel like I accomplished something. Hearing it also.
I get that a lot from people. They're like, wow, you just like put it all out there. It's like, well, we get all of that out of the way, and then we can just get right into a conversation, you know?
Good.
Hey, congratulations on the new house.
Thank you.
Creepy basement and attic.
Creepy basement, creepy
It's kind
attic.
of something, when you went into the basement and showed there was like a hump, and really it was like roots growing up there. I was like, I'm sure there's a body buried under there. There has to
Probably.
be.
And there's this moment where I stick my finger in this hole of this concrete bubble, and I was like, ooh, maybe something is in there, you know, who knows? We will find out. So yeah, I bought this old house. I mean, it's 120 years old. It's not like the oldest house in the village, but it is pretty old. It's been there for a long time. And what I think is so fascinating is that the woman who lived there before me, she lived there for 92 years. So it was her parents' house. And then, yeah, she lived there all her life with her dogs. And it's such a good omen, I think. It's a feminist house.
And you can see the various eras and the various like times where you could tell that she tried to upgrade certain parts of it, and so even those upgrades are kind of lost in time themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's a whole new chapter for me. I think I'm very, very excited about the house, because as you said, like I do something every week, and I love that I can do whatever I want. I feel like that's my main priority for all the projects that I make, is that it's something that I really want to do and that I'm curious about. And after all these years of doing YouTube videos, I feel like I've trained my brain into only having ideas that work for a video, that are fun for me to do, that are not too expensive, and that can be done in a week, you know? So I'm excited to change it up and have this house be the red or the narrative for the next probably year or two, maybe.
Well, so I think you picked a good time. I mean, these home renovation videos are huge right now. I mean,
really? I haven't even done research.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
You jumped in at just the right time. You're going to see huge jump, I think. Where are you going to start with that house? Do you have a plan?
So right now, the thing is, I want to do YouTube videos about it. But the more I thought about it, the more I think I should do a show, like a real quote unquote show, and try to make something for linear or for streaming. So that's another DIY thing. I think I'm going to produce this or try to produce this and then sell it once it's done, because I made some really bad experiences with TV companies or production companies trying to find the narrative in our makerspace, which is completely the wrong way around. It's people, you know, they get the task to make a show about making or upcycling all these hot topics that have been of, you know, great interest the last couple of years. And then there's somebody who gets the task, hey, we need to make a show about that. And then they research making stuff or upcycling or recycling for maybe a week. And they find all the lowest hanging fruits, and then they want to cast people to do this. So they approach us. You must have been approached by tons of, They approach us with those super boring ideas, all scripted drama. Nothing makes sense really. And they pay horribly. So I think that's a good opportunity to try to do it the other way around. Since we are filming and documenting anyways for YouTube, also another interesting thing is to produce for YouTube and linear at the same time. You know, that would be a great experience to combine these things and not have them work against each other, which has been the case in the last couple of years, at least in my experience.
Well,
wow, I'm rambling.
No, I love it. That sort of sounds like what Jimmy DiResta is doing. He's got a show coming out on Netflix. I'm going to have him back on the show here to talk about that in a couple of weeks. And I think that seems to be a much smarter route than trying to land some sort of a network deal where they're just like the shows that they come up with are so not what makers and builders actually want to watch at all.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you say, there's really low hanging fruit.
Yeah, because that's one thing and that's not to pat all of us on the shoulder, but we are doing this for a couple of years now. And even if you only did it for a year, quote unquote, only if you've been making stuff for a year, you're still an expert in this, you know?
Right.
And so people should listen to you. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think most of these shows they're just really trying to package a whole look. And the home renovation concept, though, is really big on these HGTV and those kind of channels where they love to show you demolishing things. That's kind of like that's the sweet spot right there. Demo day.
Yeah, that's another thing. Again, I've been thinking about this too much, I think. So stop me if I talk too much about TV production stuff. But that's another thing that I find is weird about the topic of making or home renovation. I feel like everything that's represented in TV is either about a big competition, people competing who can get it done faster or cheaper or whatever, or it's about explosions, stuff, goes wild. It's crazy situations, crazy scenarios, or it's about saving money. And all of those three scenarios are not what gets me into making stuff. For me, it's about problem solving, about being creative. Building a desk is the same as drawing a picture. And a good cooking show is, that's something that the TV world cracked. They know how to produce a good cooking show. And it's rarely about competition there. It's rarely about saving money there. So I don't understand why we can't have just the joy of making stuff, just being creative with wood and steel. That's enough, It doesn't have to be about explosions. So that's another angle that I am trying to get across with TV stations and all of this. But yeah, getting there step by step.
I like to bring up a show that I used to watch called American Chopper, where these guys would make motorcycles. And I always thought that the building and everything was enough. It was super cool. I was super engaged. But then the other half of the show was like this family drama between the characters. And I always thought,
crazy scripted, right?
Just show us the cool stuff. They're bending steel and doing stuff I've never seen before. I want to see more of that, these crazy bikes that they would build.
Yeah, and especially since all the scripted part made the making part unbelievable, It made it so, okay, this cannot be authentic, this cannot be real. If they even script conversations, then the making part is probably fake too. That's how I always felt about it. Smudo, sorry, I have to send to bed. His nails on the floor are so loud. It's like
I'm so
tiny.
happy to see Smudo though.
Smudo, geh mal in dein Hundebett. Geh mal ab. Geh mal ab in dein Hundebett. Hopp. Sorry, you might have to edit this. All right, I think we're good now.
I have a lot of dogs on this show. Dogs always make some sort of appearance. We don't have any cats, though. Any more cats on this show?
They are very quiet, too. Like, you don't hear them. They're probably there, but you don't hear them.
They would just walk across the keyboard or something, usually. Yeah. If you were to do a show like you were talking about, how would that differ from what you're doing on YouTube? If you were doing something I would assume that would be for a more mass general audience.
Yes. Yeah, because if I want to reach the inner circle, I would stay on YouTube, and I will stay on YouTube. That's where we have our community and everybody who's really interested in it, the core group, I would say. But I want to get more people into making stuff and excited about this. And I think especially women, there are not enough. And I think that's a good way to try to do it on mainstream. And also, since everything is in transition with mainstream media and television and linear TV, I feel that this is a good time to try to combine what I learned on YouTube and what they know about TV. I've been working for a children's TV show for quite some time now. It's a super old show. It's been running for 50 years in Germany. I grew up watching that show, and we decided to work together, and it was kind of the same conversation. They approached me and said, "Hey, can you make videos for kids?" Now he's eating. Okay, he'll be done soon. I'm sorry. If we should take a break, let me know. No? Okay, good.
No,
okay.
But I don't mind. We don't mind.
I feel he's chewing loud on purpose to mess with us.
It's the ambiance. We like it.
Yeah. So this TV station reached out. They wanted me to make videos for kids. The typical hot glue gun, zigzag scissors, all that stuff. And then finally I could convince them, and now they really love it, is that if you only show kids the child-proof making projects, they will get just as bored as you were as a kid in school when you had to do these boring projects. Nobody enjoys gluing a spaghetti to a piece of cardboard, and it's like, oh my god,
macaroni art, lots of popsicles too. I remember we had to use popsicle sticks for everything.
Yes, and were you disappointed as a kid when you get like, yeah, right? Yeah. It's crap. And so that's what I told them. Like, we have to show them cool stuff. Otherwise, they will never get into making things. And the point is always, it's too dangerous. Kids can't work on a table saw. They can't weld. Yes, of course they can. But they also watch professional ski jumpers, and they're allowed to watch them. So they can watch us too. And that was my point. And now I've been making, I have my own segment, and I can do crazy stuff. I weld. We try to build boats out of bathtubs and make, all kinds of stuff. And it's really cool. So that was my first step. And I actually founded a production company so I can self-produce everything on my own workflow, because I got so used to producing my own stuff from the YouTube years that now I think, as I said, it's a good time to combine these things, because it's only YouTube, but we produce stuff all by ourselves on a regular basis. So there is knowledge there too, I
think it was interesting when you mentioned, more women in the maker space and I guess DIY. We'll just lump all that together, because I don't know what a difference is really. But and I heard you've talked about this on other programs, because I think there's still a lot of stereotypes in the maker community. How important do you think it is to bring like more LGBTQ people into maker community? And does that also kind of work the other way? Should there be more makers in the LGBTQ community?
Yeah. I think it's all about representation, and it's very, very important. I had this inner conversation with me a couple of years ago because I'm openly gay, but I never made it a point in my videos, because I think it's not about my sexuality, it's about making stuff, right? But then I thought, have little visual cues for other gay people, or, just to have some kind of representation. It doesn't have to be a topic. I'm not about making videos about LGBTQ+. I think it's very, very important to that, but it's not my topic. Making is my topic. But still, then I decided to put up a rainbow flag and to talk about, make it a point to talk about it, because I don't know, 20 years ago, I would have loved to see that. I would have loved to have not a role model, but just somebody like community,
Especially in the wider internet community, where I sometimes I feel sort of insulated, having lived in San Francisco for so long, that I'm just so used to it. It's not really a thing, and then online it becomes this wider discussion, I guess. And so I think, does it feel like you sort of got thrust into that role in a way?
Not so much, no, but I do, and my comment section is pretty good because of that, because I do is purge the right word? I do purges whenever I post something like the Black Lives Matter. When I said something about that, like, I lost so many subscribers, but they were all assholes. So that's
right.
fine,
Yeah, you have to determine what's the value of an individual subscriber, and is subscribers really all that important? It's really more important about establishing that community around what you're doing.
Yeah,
I think it's great. Let's talk about that shop of yours. How close is the shop to your house? Your new house?
My new house. Oh, it's not that far. It's closer than Cologne. So right now I have my studio in the countryside, 45 minutes outside of Cologne. Still have the apartment in Cologne, but I do live in the studio a little bit, and the house is closer now, so closer to the workshop. It will be easier to travel back and forth. And the workshop is so good. I loved having a shop in the middle of the city, and I really like Cologne, but needing a lot of space in the city, I don't think anywhere is possible, but Cologne is very expensive. So I just couldn't afford it anymore. And whenever I found an old warehouse that was kind of cheap, I could stay there for maybe 1 or 2 years, and then they would kick me out because they need a parking lot and they want to, gentrify the old warehouse into something else. So I finally, because the YouTube thing got more serious, and I couldn't afford losing a month every 2 years of moving my stuff around. So I decided to go to the countryside just because I'm safe here. They let me stay in this place for longer, I would hope. And that changed a lot for me, I think. I can make fires now whenever I want to, which is great.
I want to see more fires.
Yeah. And my neighbor is a scrap metal dealer.
Oh,
so
that's
we have a
perfect
very,
for
very
you.
good relationship. Yeah. It's so good.
You've got so much stuff. You got a lot of stuff, don't you? 'Cause
Yeah,
you're pretty,
I do.
you're
It's
a pretty
problem.
organized person. You got a lot of that pink tape. You can just label everything, right?
Yeah, I love organization because, or I like curating my stuff, like all of my trash and junk and bicycles, because if there's nothing worse than knowing that you have it, but you don't know where it is. So I think my mind is made for knowing what I have and also knowing what other people have. So I don't have to go to the hardware store and buy it. I'm very, like, I spend a lot of my brain capacity on cataloging where all the stuff is and, you know, what my scrap metal dealer has on his truck and stuff like that. Yeah.
You basically do have a hardware store, your own hardware store. You have everything.
Yes. I work with a couple of really cool sponsors, and I convinced them that it's very necessary for me to have like actual displays in my shop because I'm so far off from all the hardware stores. Even if I need something and I don't have it, it's hard to get it. So we found that that's a good way to do it. So I have I think it's 4 or 5 displays from my sponsors where the basic stuff is always on display, and that's perfect. That's so good.
Do you know what I liked recently was you did the, well, there's a couple of things, but one thing was that, I don't know how recent it was, the Peace of Mind light switch you did. I thought that was super cool.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that to me, that kind of really helps to show your brain in action, because it's sort of ridiculous, but it sort of makes sense. If it were me, so the idea is that it's something so you don't forget to turn off the lights when you leave. You have an automatic switch, and well, I'll have you describe it. But for me, I would say, well, I'll just put a Post-it note there to remind me.
Yeah. Or just learn not to forget. But these things, it's not that it is actually practical. I use it every day, and it also makes me smile every day, you know? I love that stuff. It's not every project, I have to admit, it's not every project that I really use all the time, and that, you know, some of the stuff, like I built a little yakitori grill a couple weeks ago, and we used it once, and I'm pretty sure we'll never use it again, but it's more like a 3D sketch of an idea. And it's not my expectation for me to only build stuff that I will use until the rest of my life. But some of these projects, they make me smile so much that I like to keep them around, you know.
And you're much more about the process, aren't you?
Oh yeah, 100%. The process is everything. That's where I'm the happiest. That's because the ideas, yes, I mean, it has to be an entertaining idea, but, you know, explaining an idea is like explaining a joke. It's so, you know, you have to show it. You have to show it, and if it works, then that's fine. So getting from this theory in my head, from this quick idea to the final product, hey, this really worked, like all this time in between those 2 points is where I'm the happiest. And then before that and after that, it cuts out immediately. Once it's done, I usually lose interest unless I install it right away and then have to use it every day, like the light switch. Then that's fine. But if I don't do that, it's gone. Like so many projects are actually out in the rain because I never took them inside, because then it's over, you know? Then I want to do the next thing.
Is the project just officially over when the YouTube video is posted? Is that like that you can bookend it there?
It's usually when I have the beauty shots, the photos, that's the last thing that's really annoying. And then the editing I do while I'm half asleep. And then publishing is another exciting thing, but that almost feels like a different, like the documentation is a project on its own and has a life on its own. I really appreciate having all these videos, and I don't lose interest in the video, just in the thing itself. Never thought about that. No.
You have how many people are working with you now? What's your team like?
It's one person.
That's it.
That's my best friend Janine, and now I recently started working with Felix. He did the camera in the last probably
like
6
the house
videos,
tour.
and also
it was real nice to see that move.
Yes, the house tour. Yeah, and also he edits stuff. So we are experimenting with working together, and that's another thing. I mean, the YouTube stuff carries me and Janine, my best friend, who does all the organizing stuff, but it probably wouldn't carry a third person. That's another reason why I want to do the TV show, is so Felix can stay, because that's just so nice to not do everything all the time. You know, up until Felix came, I never had a weekend, never, ever. And now a couple weeks in a row, I had like Friday night off, Saturday off, and then Sunday I do my premiere, and that's it. And I feel so much better. I didn't even realize how much I was working, you know, for 7 years.
Do you think you were starting to feel a little burnout?
More like bored, because it's so automatic, and so I can edit in my sleep. Seriously. I think my quickest edit was from importing the files to uploading was in 2 hours, and then with music and everything, it's so automatic. It's not a challenge anymore. And I was,
do you want to try to change your style of editing, or if you have somebody else editing, is that one of your goals?
I think I'm learning that I don't have to be the one woman show. I'm very, very proud that I made this all happen and that I'm able to do this all by myself. But I like Felix's editing style better. I think he's a better editor, seriously. And I think the camera movement and a little bit of action and a little bit of me talking to the camera and speaking German and us having fun in the shop, that's all very, very good for my videos. It changes the format drastically from the beats to study to relaxing, just watch somebody work video to maybe I feel like I get sucked in more into the universe when I watch the video. And that's different, but I like it. Change is good, especially after 6 or 7 years or 300 something videos.
I was doing a project a week for about almost 2 years, and it was just way too much. It just kind of got the same way. It was like so routine, just kind of cranking these out in the same way, just editing really fast through those. A lot of that had to do with knowing how much to shoot. The less you can shoot, the better.
That's it.
I hear from a lot of new YouTubers, and they're like, "Oh, I'm having to sift through 5 hours of
oh,
video."
No.
I'm like, "Oh, you're not doing it right."
It's like 2-second clips. That's it.
Yeah, you just turn that camera on quick, and then you spend your time.
Yeah,
doing it.
Absolutely.
You seem to start though right out of the gate with that first video of yours. You kind of had your style already dialed in. Did you have experience doing this before?
Yeah, after school I worked for TV, like shooting we shot this horrible show about people who had accidents, and then we recreated them and interviewed them about
recreated the
accidents, like they were still alive.
Oh, yes.
Oh my god, that would have been worse.
Like forensic facial rebuilding or something. I'm like, oh, that's what's in the basement of your house.
Yes. No, so it's like low-level TV. And I wanted to be an editor, and then I changed my mind and wanted to work as a camera DOP. But it was right when the analog stuff was completely dying. Like there were not even a couple people left shooting on film. So, and I wasn't too interested in the whole digital stuff back then. So I changed my mind and quit that whole thing. I worked there for 3.5 years, I think. And then I studied design. And during the design studies, I learned that I hate working on computers, which is bad as a designer. That is not a good thing. So I got into making stuff and trying to build.
What year was that?
That must have been Oh my God, it's in 2009 probably when I started studying design, or something like 7, I think. Yeah. Yeah, and then I discovered YouTube and learned everything that I know on YouTube now. It's strange, yeah.
And so that's why you do like your own hand lettering and everything. You seem to be really interested in fonts.
Yes, yeah, that's all my design background, I think. Because that's, again, like I was so bad with picking fonts on the computer that I always try to get away with doing it with handwriting. And since I was the only one doing it like that, I always had the bonus points of, yeah, she's the weird one. She builds stuff. So I always got the credit without really doing the work. I kind of lied my way through my design school. Well, it worked out though.
Just go with the Helvetica. You can't go wrong with Helvetica.
But that's been going on for 20 years now, so it's overdone.
It's totally. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, maybe Comic Sans will rise again.
Yeah, there is definitely a comeback for the Comic Sans.
And papyrus.
Oh my God.
We'll just have a show on like shitty fonts.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, you joined YouTube then, and you must. Where did you? Because you kind of like had a following right from the beginning. It looks like people were watching your videos.
I don't know how it happened. I think so. Jimmy was the first person I recognized as being a YouTube maker, and seeing his stuff made me feel like, okay, there's I have people out there who want to do the same thing that I want to do. And, you know, when you find your community and you find your fellow people, you learn so much about yourself just by watching what they are doing, that this could be a thing. And actually hearing Jimmy talk on his podcast, Making It, about behind the scenes stuff for his YouTube channel made me realize, okay, so this is really not something that I need a team for. This is something I could do by myself. And I was a little bit connected with the Making It guys, David, Bob, and Jimmy, because I supported the podcast and we talked a little bit. And I think they gave me a shout out right out of the gate. And, you know, back then, 200 views really made a difference. You know, the algorithm was so nice. Just a little bump would get you a long way. So I think that helped me out. And also, I think in Germany, there are not a lot of makers. Not, as I said in the beginning, people who are interdisciplinary and enjoy not knowing everything about it and being a jack of all trades, being okay with failing. That's not very German. So I think that got me a bunch of attention here.
I get the impression Germany has a long history of very traditional, I want to say like real structured way of building things. There's a long tradition of carpentry, and not to mention the tools. You've got Festool out there, which is, you know, one of the best, highest rated brands in the world. But I think that the trades are taken very seriously there. And maybe that's why the maker movement is a little alien. Yeah,
and it's very protected for good reasons, because, you know, it's such a small country, bordered with other countries, and so like the master level, you have to be a master carpenter if you want to have an employee, if you want to sell and build certain furniture. But in Poland, for example, work labor is so much cheaper. So that's why it's so protected, that you can only work and do certain things as a master carpenter, so that it helps to protect the masters. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? It's a little bit tricky to explain. And therefore, if I wanted to build furniture full time and sell them, I think it's like 6 years of apprenticeship and school and learning stuff and being an apprentice and then being a master until I could do that. And I'm not patient enough for that. And also, I don't only want to do woodworking. I also want to do metalworking and all these things. So it was never my thing. And although I think it's very, very good that we have this super traditional craftsman and craftswomanship, it always gets in my way, we've been doing it like this for 70 years or 300 years. So don't think about it, just recreate it, just learn how to do it and don't question it. That's not how I learn things. And that frustrates me unbelievably. So I could never learn like this. Which will be a big challenge when I'm doing the house, because it's a half timbered house, I think is the expression for that. So very traditional, and there are a lot of opinions about that. And I want to do it as traditional as possible. No new materials, only traditional materials like clay stuff, and trying to make my own tiles and all these things. So yes, that would be a challenge for me, dealing with the comments. And also, I think that's a new approach for me, to try to actually do it right.
And every time you do something of either the woodworking or the metalwork or electrical, you probably heard from some electricians when you did the electric. That's like across YouTube. If you even turn on a light switch, the electricians show up.
Yes, but it's not only the electricians. I feel there are so many people who are so problem oriented, and those for some reason are the people who have the urge to tell you that you are doing it wrong and that you are going to die if you do it like this,
Right.
And it always fascinated me, because I think I've never written a comment about something that I disagree with in my life, but it seems to be, if people who are problem oriented have a tendency to tell you about your problems for some reason. So that's why the comment sections are toxic. And that's why I can only
they can be.
do purges. You need to do purges and sort them out.
Yeah, it's always funny when some like expert in the field shows up on some like little channel who's just doing putting things together. I'm like, why are you even watching this? I mean, I can't. If I was an expert at something, I'm not really going to be watching the beginners trying something out. It just seems odd.
Or if I'm an expert and I see beginners trying to do it, like give them a little bit of encouragement. You ask, know.
Yeah.
You know how hard it is to get started. Don't trample all over their accomplishments. That's awesome,
I think the first time I learned about electrical was probably maybe 2012 or 13 YouTube, and I was soldering something. I should have never shown me soldering because it was wrong, It worked. I got it done, but it looked ugly. And you heard from these people. And then so I learned I don't want to show electrical stuff because I'll never hear the end of it.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, on the other hand, it drives off the comments, and then that's good for the algorithm, whatever, That's always a way to try to see it positive.
Do you think has YouTube changed? In what ways do you think it's changed since you started in 2015? Because I mentioned that in the intro. I kind of always think of 2015 and 16 as sort of peak YouTube. That was really the golden age sort of YouTube.
I think so too, although especially with content we're doing, yes, the growth was crazy back then, and I've never had peaks like that ever again. But I think it's a marathon, and I also think it's about my specific journey is about me learning how to tell a story that might not interest everybody, learning to communicate what it is that I love about making so much to people who are not makers. That's the biggest challenge for me. And YouTube is a great platform to learn this and still monetize. So everybody is afraid that TikTok is taking over. TikTok is not a search engine, TikTok is a entertainment algorithm monster that works way too well. Like I would have never thought that I get it. I'm not addicted to TikTok, but whenever I pick up my phone and open the app,
you get sucked in.
30 minutes are gone. I don't know. I don't even know what it is, But that's not what I do. And that's not what the YouTube maker community is about. So I don't think there's a big problem there. Numbers are different, but that's okay. numbers are different for everybody. There are a couple exceptions, but there's always been a couple exceptions. So I don't panic about it. I'm just happy it's still going, honestly, you know. I'm surprised it's been going for so long. And YouTube is a free platform. I don't even have to pay for that. You know what I mean? I don't even have to pay for uploading tons of data every week for years. And I can monetize it on the platform. I can monetize it by myself. And I learn while I'm doing this. So I think it's cool.
Yeah, I can't believe it either. YouTube just turned 17, February 14th, 2005.
Oh, wow.
Was the very first Me at the Zoo, very first video.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you worried about the YouTube thing? Like that it's changing too much? That we can.
It's kind of like a hot topic right now because of the shorts, which is kind of mind blowing how those have already had like over 3 trillion views in just less than a year, or a little over a year now. And whether short content is just taking over the internet in general. And I think it is in a way, but I think YouTube will always be a home. It's the only place really to post quality long format content that anybody could do. I remember
that is searchable too, you know.
That's searchable. I mean, it used to be their tagline was broadcast yourself, you know, and I thought that was so cool because it just meant anybody could shoot a video and you could be your own broadcaster.
Yeah.
And they kind of got rid of that, but I think that it's still going to be that way, but there's definitely going to be a huge amount of short form content coming. You haven't really experimented with that too much, have you?
A little bit, but more on TikTok, just because I don't like my own feed being disturbed with the ugly ass thumbnails, you know.
What's the deal? Yeah.
I don't know.
This sucks. You can't make a thumbnail if you
no.
can't pick it. Yeah.
And then it's vertical, but in a horizontal frame. Like, what's going on? It looks so ugly. And that's my design background that doesn't allow me to post a short in my. No, it's not possible. But I mean, I like the challenge, and I think there's something that we can learn. And I'm all about recycling my own content. That's something that I'm very interested in, because all this work that goes into making a 10-minute video, a week of work. And then YouTube definitely changed. I feel it every week. A video has a time frame of maybe 6 hours to get out there. If it doesn't blow up, it will not. And then it has 3 days to reach its maximum peak of like the average field. And after that, it's gone. And I remember a conversation with April Wilkerson where she helped me get started. She taught me so much about YouTube. And she said, you only know how a video is doing after 3 months. Imagine that, you know, and that was back in the day, and now it's 3 days and it's gone. It's not relevant anymore. So I'm all about recycling the work that I've been working on for a week. That's why I like TikTok. Try to find a format where I can recycle my long format video into a TikTok, and also try to make it interesting for the sponsors that I work with, you know, give them a short of the stuff that I've been filming with their tools or their products, so they can use it on their social media.
Yeah, I think that's important. We could certainly recycle a lot of that older material, because we get into this mindset of thinking, well, I've seen all my videos, so everybody has seen all of my videos. And the truth is, most people are kind of new to any channel. You know, they haven't been around for the entire way. And especially now, since the whole subscription model really isn't as important as it once was, that it really is all about just getting new eyeballs on those videos.
Yeah.
Well, how do you define YouTube success?
YouTube success specifically on YouTube, just dealing with it, you know.
Yeah.
Just being okay with it is a success, I think, because the creator burnout is a real thing, and I'm very fortunate that I didn't have to deal with it, but I see people like dropping like flies, especially people who have been on the platform longer. So just being okay with all of this pressure is a success, I think. And not letting the comments get to you, not letting the numbers get to you. That's the biggest accomplishment you can do on YouTube, I think.
That's about it, isn't it? Don't get overwhelmed by it. 'Cause it's so easy to just get so deep in the weeds looking at, like you're saying, the first 6 hours. It's easy to just like, oh, I better have like 3 thumbnails ready and switch them out, because if this isn't performing in the first, hour, I better switch it up and see if that performs better, or switch the title around and all of this stuff. It just gets, and then if you don't do that, you feel like, well, now I'm just missing out.
Yeah, that's true. But I made it a point not to do this unless the video is like really tanking, where I think there's something. Did I even upload a thumbnail? What's happening? I have maybe in all these years, I switched a thumbnail maybe 3 times, because yes, this might be naive, but that's not a good headspace for me to be in, to question myself and question my decisions over and over and over again. I like to make a decision and then that's it. And if it was the wrong decision, I'm fine with that and I move on, and next time I will do better. But if I go back on all the decisions I make all the time, it would drive me nuts.
Yeah, I'm kind of am that way myself. For a while there, I was really experimenting with thumbnails and switching them out. And it just kind of got to where I don't know if it's really making that big of a difference.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to say. I mean, I guess if you've got a good thumbnail, you kind of know it's going to be a good one. And sadly, that's just what people click on. They want to see a good thumbnail among the sea of thumbnails is...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also, I mean, what's a good thumbnail then? People will tell you need to have your face on it. You better
be screaming.
Yes, you better be screaming. Make it a question. Like, guess what happened 5 minutes after this?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
one exclamation point isn't enough. You have to have 3 exclamation points. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably like rules to make a great selling thumbnail. But the question is that the product you have? Are you, because like the Big Mac is a great selling burger, but if I would make a burger, it would not be a Big Mac,
No, it doesn't even taste like a burger.
So only because something sells well doesn't mean it is good. And that's something that I try to remind myself whenever I get insecure about it, or maybe my YouTube career is over, and maybe it is, but still I'm very happy with my content. It's not because I sold out. It's not because I lowered my standards so I can do this. It's not because I lost interest. Then it's because of circumstances that are out of my hand, and that's fine. And I will try to deal with it. And Janine and I will find another business, But I will not do the screaming thumbnail. I almost cut off my hand. My career is over. I will not do this.
Yeah, it drives me crazy though. I see the YouTube face, and it's like if everybody starts doing these, YouTube thumbnail rules, then it's just all the thumbnails are going to pretty much look alike, and it's going to be the person who doesn't do that's going to stand out.
Yes, and also we are not on a mainstream. I mean, YouTube is becoming mainstream. What we got on the platform because we have a niche topic, so we should cater to that. I think, because that's interesting.
I think that's really smart. Yeah. Do you feel like you're entering a new era of your channel right now with the house?
I think so. I think I am hoping that, or that would be my wish, that my career goes into a direction where YouTube is my side hustle again. That would be cool. That I have my business elsewhere, where maybe I have more people who help me with this. Imagine a show that we could maybe do about the house. If it happens or not, I don't know, but that would be ideal, to have this thing where we work on with a team, and other people who are better at things than me can help me make decisions. Maybe they make their own decisions, and we make like a teamwork, collaborative thing that is much bigger than the stuff that I could do on my own. But I always have the time in my workshop where I make a peace of mind light switch and just go nuts with my ideas. That would be the dream. Yeah.
Do you think that maker community has also evolved since the maker community has only really been around since 2005, maybe, or so. It's really not that old as far as being kind of considered a community.
Yeah, I think it hasn't been documented before, but now that we have a meeting point, YouTube, and then actually meeting points like the maker fairs, yeah, it probably has changed. You see a lot of people grow, which is fantastic. You see a lot of people come and go, which is fine too. I don't think being a maker has to be a statement for the rest of your life. It can be something that you, my phone is ringing, sorry, that you experiment with, and then it doesn't have to be full time for everybody. That's what I'm trying to say, I think it has changed, but not for the worse, I would say.
Why do you like to make things? What's the ultimate down deep? What is it about?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? I feel like I understand the world better when I make stuff because I question things. You know what I mean? It makes me braver because I learn how to solve problems. It gives me a chance to be the person that I want to be, it sounds very dramatic, but making things really changed who I am. I was impatient. I was unhappy. I didn't know what to do with all this energy. I mean, imagine I've been making videos every week for the past 6 years. Imagine all this energy being inside of me and not knowing what to do with it. I was horrible.
Yeah.
So it really changed everything for me. I think I'm a better person because I make stuff. I think I understand the world better. And I also think I finally learned how to express myself. And that's why I'm so happy that we have the community, because it's one thing to express yourself, but it only makes sense if other people understand what you're saying. And that's what the community is for. And that's why I almost cried when I met Jimmy for the first time, because I felt so connected because I saw his work and I felt like I understand this guy. Just watching him work tells me that we really get along, because the way he solves problems, the way he appreciates materials, the way he's not giving up on it, tells me much more about him than any interview,
Boy, time and time again, I'm hearing, and from people on this show, I hear from people who started out working behind a desk and they were in software engineering or something like that before they got into making things. And it was just like this liberating experience to be untethered from that desk. And I think that that's kind of the feeling and the emotion behind making things that people just have to kind of come to discover, and I think that that's one of the things that we can be kind of imparting in children beyond the macaroni art and the popsicle sticks.
Yeah.
And so I think that's great what you're doing there, because it is.
Thank you. What's your big why? Why are you making stuff?
It started out making things when I was a kid, and just because I just loved using the tools, loved using the machinery, and I loved just kind of seeing something take shape. And then it's kind of evolved into different phases. There was a time when I just liked to make things, for the house. I just wanted to see the final project done. And now I'm kind of back into where you are, where I like spending the time in my head, in my shop, thinking about how I'm going to do something, how I'll approach it. And no matter what project I'm building, especially now since I'm not doing the weekly videos, I'm not in that headspace of having to rush through something, so I can really enjoy the process. And to me, it is very much about the process. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. I love being able to face a challenge with every project. You probably know this more than anybody, that every single project comes with its own set of challenges that you've got to try to figure out. And when you figure out each little step of that and then it all comes together, there's nothing more satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing more devastating than not being able to turn it around and get it I had it this week. Well, yesterday actually. I had this lamp idea, and it's always nice to build a lamp because a lamp is a lamp. If you have, from the beginning, it's just about designing the materials around it. And I had this idea, and I thought it was so nice and so cute. And I tried to build it, and it looked like crap. And I could tell this is beyond. I cannot save this. This is all wrong. And I will not do a video this week, actually, because unless I have a very, very quick idea that I can shoot by myself in a day, I don't have time to do another video. And then that happens too. But that's sad. I hate when that happens.
Do you feel like you just put unnecessary pressure on yourself by having this weekly schedule?
Yeah, for sure. But I love it. I actually like it. It's for me, it's the biggest challenge. I remember when I was a kid and I watched The Simpsons, and I could not wrap my head around how they have a different pre-show thing every time.
The couch gag, yeah.
The couch gag. I could not understand how they do it every time, and I think that's something that's yeah, I don't know. It's a big challenge for me, and I am very proud if I get it done every week. So.
What kind of things do you do that don't involve a camera and building things? What do you do to unwind other than making things?
I watch movies a lot, and I saw from your background you like horror movies too, right?
Yeah, my shop is filled.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a horror movie fan?
Yeah.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh, did you see the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
No, I haven't.
It just came out on Netflix.
Oh, really? I will watch this tonight. Nice.
Oh, wow. See, now this just opened up a whole new can of worms. Here, what are some of your favorites?
Some of my favorites. What got me hooked was Scream, back in the 90s.
Did you like the new one?
Yes, I did. If you like the first one, you like the new one. It's a love letter to the original. But I was in the perfect age for this. I was a little too young to see it, which is perfect for horror movies. And also, I think there's a lot of there's so much community in the Scream movie, all the rules, the belief systems. Yeah. You understand it right away. It's a great movie, I think. And then the newer ones like It Follows, Babadook, the ones that are referenced in Scream 5, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, that was the elevated horror.
Yeah.
I'm actually a fan. I think we're in some of the best horror movies ever made right now. I think we're in a really good spot for horror movies.
Yeah. What's your favorite one? The 80s classics or?
Well, I like the 80s classics. They're fun popcorn films, but honestly, some of the most recent films I've seen, Saint Maud is one of my favorite in recent years.
Ooh.
It just came out last year.
Okay.
I really liked The Witch a lot.
Oh, that's a good one. All the Hereditary,
the Babadook. You mentioned some good ones there. It Follows, all of these. And these are all recent films. And I think what they've done is they've taken horror movies to just a new level of really deeper meaning to them. And there's a lot of focus on grief and trauma right now that I find real interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. But I do love a good cheesy 80s film once in a while.
Yeah.
That's funny. You know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to have you on the Halloween show. I did a Halloween show with another maker, or he's a carpenter, Ethan James. I had him on the show and found out he's also a fan of horror movies. Now we text each other all the time with the latest horror movies, but we did a Halloween episode of our picks on here, so we'll have to. I'm going to bring you into that mix.
Yes, please. That would be cool. I think it really the watching Seven for the first time. Again, way too young for this, but the
you gotta get desensitized.
Yeah, exactly. The opener where you have this montage where you see the sketchbooks and these weird photographs, something drew together with the Nine Inch Nails song. Yeah. Something drew me in. I could not resist. We had the VHS and I would watch just the pre-trailer over and over. And then later I got a DVD with a making of, and I learned that there are people who developed a font just for the handwriting of the killer, and then people actually writing all these sketchbooks, and they bought old tape to glue in the photos that's like yellow and yucky or whatever you say. And that opened a world of design, and everything is designed. Everything you see, not only in the movies, but in real life, everything is designed by somebody, and somebody had ideas and thoughts and problem solving to make this light switch just like this. And I think I don't want to ramble too much, but I think we live in a world where the last call is always made by things that have nothing to do with me. Package design, productionability. I don't know what the word is, but how much does it cost to make it? That has nothing to do with me. I just want a really nice light switch. So I need to make my own. Otherwise, like, there's nothing on the market for me, or I have to buy an old one. You know what I mean? And that's something that really interests me about making too.
Yeah. Wow, this has been great talking to you. This hour went by very fast.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for joining me. We're going to have to do this again sometime. We're going to have to talk about the horror films too.
Yes. Get me on the Halloween show. I'm in.
Yeah, that would be fun. Add Censor to that list too. Censor. It's about the British film censors of the 1980s. It's a new film also.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yeah, there's this, and these are first time female directors, which is, I find really interesting that there's like this like surge right now of people taking this in a different direction, but that would be a good one for you.
Cool. I will watch it. Thank you.
So any big plans other than the house for the new year, for this year?
No, I mean, yeah, again, the TV show would be nice. Just staying happy is always the big plan for every year.
Coming out to the US anytime soon?
I hope, yeah. I want to go to the Maker Camp at Jimmy's in October, it is, I think. Will you be there?
I don't know. I talked to him last time I had him on the show. I'll ask him about that again. He'll be on here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Oh, and I will be, that's a big one, in April. If you are, or people listening are in Germany, Hamburg, I will be an astronaut, the commander astronaut at Tom Sachs's space program. So that's I think that will be, no matter how it goes, I'm really scared to fuck it up. But either way, I think this will be like a top 10 life experience for me, for sure.
It sounds like Simone. I had Simone, you friends with Simone. So she did the vomit comet. I thought that was so cool.
Oh, right. Yeah, Simone, I wanted to visit her a couple weeks ago, actually. I went to New York, and then it was a plan to fly to LA, but I got COVID in New York. Big surprise. So I couldn't go, but hopefully we can hang out in the summertime.
You even managed to build a project while you were quarantined there. That's amazing. Yeah. I hope restrictions starting to lessen a little bit in Germany, or is it still?
Yeah. It's getting. I think in March 20th or something is when everything is getting easier again.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah.
Slowly getting that way here. This is a long haul, isn't it?
It is. I almost don't remember how it was before. But I have to say, now that I had it, I'm less anxious about it. I mean, I know I can get it again, but I had a very fortunate experience, not a very heavy symptoms. So it was all very, very good because I'm vaccinated and boosted. Of course. So now I have high hopes that I'm vaccinated and boosted, and I had it. So maybe I'm bulletproof, at least for a couple weeks.
Yeah. All right, Laura. Well, thanks again for joining me, and thanks for listening to this episode of the Woodworking Talk Show.
Thank you for having me. Talk soon.